The neat thing that we're starting to see a lot more carriers do, though, is if certifications are not completed by January 1st of the following year or December 31st, however you want to look at it, a lot of carriers are still allowing you to certify in January. However, you only miss the renewal payments during the time that you weren't certified.
Good morning, insurance agents of the senior market. Welcome back to Near and Far. It is Monday, February 1st. Happy February. Glad to be back with you. Joined this morning by Christine Reed, world-renowned rock, paper, scissors champion. How are you doing this morning?
Good, thanks. How about you?
Good. I'm looking forward to Sunday for the big game. Are you having people over? Is that really a thing in your house, or what do you and Drew do with the big game?
Pretty much nothing. No, that's a lie. We usually celebrate with our neighbors and just kind of have a little get together, which is always fun. So we'll see. It's a little different this year with COVID, so yeah. I don't know what's going to happen, but.
Yeah, Kristen and I talked about that last week, and she had to differentiate like normal big game versus if the Steelers were in, but it's certainly for me it's all about the commercials, and I am so jacked up about the Neishloss and Fleming commercial for the big game.
I know. Can you believe that there's going to be a Neishloss and Fleming commercial?
No, I actually can't believe it. Like, that's why I had to keep saying it like every time we start a new episode,
it's
like
real.
To convince myself. And you've done a tremendous job in this, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. So I was pinging around on insurance forums the other day, which I am pro to do, and we love the folks at Insurance Forums, Sam, Kara, and the rest of the team. We love what you guys are doing, giving a voice to the insurance agent to really talk about all sorts of things and collaborate. And there was a question that popped up on the senior forum the other day that I thought was really interesting, and you and I talked about it, so I thought we could maybe kind of jump into it a little bit. So the question that was submitted by Don P. Was this. Basically, the summary of the question was, what happens to your MAPD renewals if a carrier terminates you? And obviously, if you get terminated for cause, for doing some really bad stuff, they're going away. But it was really interesting, the kind of discussion and debate that went on with this question around, well, what if I don't just certify? What if I certify but I don't write business? What if I get termed not for cause? Like all of those things, which I guess something I didn't even think about. It can be a really confusing subject to agents.
Right. So as you know, every carrier has their own set of rules surrounding terminations and renewals and certifications and all of that. So it's really best to ask those questions on a one-off. Like, this is my WellCare contract, for example. What happens if I don't do it? The neat thing that we're starting to see a lot more carriers do, though, is if certifications are not completed by January 1st of the following year or December 31st, however you want to look at it, a lot of carriers are still allowing you to certify in January. However, you only miss the renewal payments during the time that you weren't certified.
Yeah, right here. That happened to me. Like I've got some business with an insurance carrier on the books, and it was one of those where I was so wrapped up in what I was doing, and then got to like January 4th, and I was like, "Where's my beer money check?"
Yep.
And to your point, I went, I did the certification. I was late. So I'm there with you. If this happened to you, I'm there with you. And then like the next month, there's my beer money.
Yeah. Do you have beer for the big game?
I will have beer for the big game. That is for certain. No question about that. Because, what's better than watching tremendous commercials and drinking beer at the same time?
Not much.
No, not at all. Although my children are always yelling at me because I'm shushing them during the commercials, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like that's what I watch for. But hey, tell you what, why don't we talk about real quick, maybe just kind of a couple different scenarios and some guidelines to kind of help of our agents in a general fashion. And if you're interested in your specific scenario, if you've got one of these questions, I'm going to drop a Ryan bomb right here. Ryan, our video producer. There's Christine's email address, cwreath@neishloss.com. If you've got questions about, hey, I've got 200 Molina cases on the books, and what happens if I don't certify or I don't write new business, what happens? Hit Christine, she's your expert, she'll get to you. But just kind of in general, like, talking about Don's question, which really primarily was around, if I stop writing business with this company, what happens?
Yes.
So what carriers, just kind of in general, are we talking about, not everyone, are going to terminate you if you stop writing business, even if you're still certified?
So at this point, the only carrier that is actively terminating agents for non-production is United Healthcare.
Okay.
Each carrier will, from time to time, go through and say, oh, you haven't had any new business, we're going to go ahead and terminate you. UHC looks at your book of business for the calendar year that you're in, and then if you haven't had any business, they're going to go ahead and terminate you. So United Healthcare, for example, though, if they do terminate you, you can go into a servicing status, which allows you to complete minimal certifications and retain your book of business. So you're not losing those commissions if you get terminated for non-production.
Yeah. No, and that's important. I mean, in the Medicare Supplement world, terminating someone for not producing is commonplace. Like, it happens all the time. I mean, we get those emails from, what is Medico? Like every month. Like, here's your non-producers, we're going to terminate them. Like, and sometimes you can go back to the carrier and say, hey, no, this agent's going to write some business, just, and they'll let it go. But with Med Sup, if they terminate you, it doesn't matter from a comp perspective because you're still getting your renewal check all the time. It's that certification piece that's the difficult part.
Right, and then the other, so that's United Healthcare that does term for non-production. Your carriers who also term for non-production whenever they go through their agent books and are just kind of purging their records, most of those carriers will allow you to maintain your renewals in those scenarios as long as you hold an active license, you hold an appointment through them with the state, so your contract is terminated but your state appointment is still active, and you're certified. So all in all, you have the ability to keep those renewal commissions as long as you're following those carrier guidelines. Right. And one of the nice things about the carriers is they're pretty transparent in the letters that they send out. This is what you need to do to maintain your renewals.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of that, I don't want to say is self-serving, but you're right that when I've seen those letters, they are generally pretty clear for an insurance company communication. I think part of the reason is that they're fearful that if they just stop paying you, you're going to roll it.
Yeah.
You're going to roll that book. So you mentioned servicing status with United Healthcare, which was kind of an interesting thing they came up with a couple years ago. Are there other carriers that allow agents to move into like that non-writing status, like kind of move to the bench and kind of hang there with minimal cert, or is United unique in that regard?
United is unique in that regard, that they have set up this servicing status that you can go into to just maintain your book of business. When you're in servicing status, you can't write new business, but you're just there servicing your current book, maintaining your renewals, which is really neat for them to do. Yeah,
I wonder why more carriers don't do that. So United, nice move on your part. Like, way to go, servicing status. Like, tremendous job. Yeah. I'm just wondering why more carriers don't do that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why wouldn't an Aetna or a Humana or an Anthem or like some of the other big carriers say, hey, we don't want to lose out on this. Like, why don't we, because this is kind of a copycat business. Like, you see that a lot. I wonder why no one's followed United that way.
I would say probably more so those other carriers, you don't really see them terming as much for non-production. So those agents are staying active. I'm sure if they get to a point where they start terming agents more consistently, that we might see them following suit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I think that's why we're not seeing that at this point.
Okay. So the last question, and this was something that kind of came up through the chat on that insurance forums question from Don P, was like, okay, because there were a lot of people kind of tossing in opinions and different things. And at one point, someone said something to the effect of, well, what if I don't want to certify forever? What if I just want to sell my book? Okay, it's time to, push the game over button and, just try to cash in. Which carriers allow agents to sell their book or to in the old group health days, you could just agent of record that and do it that way. Like, which of the major Medicare Advantage carriers are allowing an agent to kind of engage in that type of transaction?
So pretty much all of the carriers allow an agent of record move. When we're talking about selling books of business, the carriers don't look at it as a selling your business type deal. You want to make sure that you have an attorney involved and you have gone through that process on the back end. And then from there, it's more on the front end where you're just saying to the carrier, look, I've done this. I want to move my book over to this agent. And they pretty much all at this point have processes set up in place that you can move your business from yourself to another person.
Yeah, well, with United, it's called successor agent, which is kind of an interesting process. Yes. Because just recently with some of our brokers in Connecticut who were doing that, I was kind of learning some of the intricacies. Like, if you don't have 20 cases, they won't allow you to do it.
annual renewals.
2,000 annual renewals, yeah. And you can only do it, was it, successor at one time?
At this point, it's one time, yes.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting, too, to think about it, because let's say just to the folks in this room, and you can't see Ryan, but he's here. Ryan is everywhere. All right? So let's say I write all this business, and I decide I'm an old guy. I'm getting out, which I'm kind of getting to be an old guy. So you want to buy my book. All right? So we set up a deal. I sell it to you. We use that United Healthcare Successor Program.
Yes.
Let's say like 5 years from now, you and Drew are finally like, that's it. We are getting out of here. We're moving to Hawaii, and I'm out. Like no more insurance. Like you're gonna run like a margarita shack, like on which you love
I think
tequila.
you would like that.
Yeah, you're gonna run a margarita shack on the side of the beach, and so you want to sell your book to Ryan. Like the way the United program's set up, you can't do that. Which
At
is,
this point.
yeah.
So maybe in 5 years, whenever I'm ready to run my margarita shack, they'll have another process set in place. But they currently restrict to a one-time move. Yes.
Do you know if the other carriers look at it that way, or is United the only one that really kind of has that one move kind of stopper on their process?
I do believe that United Healthcare is the only one that has that stopper.
Okay.
But I do have to say that their successor agent transfer process is relatively straightforward. You know, you don't have to send out the letters to the downlines, anything like that. Not your downlines, your members.
Yep.
You just complete this form and they make the change on their back end, and it's very simple for them.
Yeah, seemingly in talking with agents who've gone through that process, because I've talked to a couple agents who've sold their book, and it's never just one carrier. Like, you know, it's like, okay, I've got this many Uniteds, this many Aetnas, this many Humanas, this many Mutual of Omahas, so on and so forth. And so you're kind of dealing with all that different process. But usually, from what I've heard, United tends to be the cleanest,
Yes.
even though they've got that one transfer rule in place with successor.
Right.
So just a quick tip for you guys, if you're ever considering doing either selling your book, you know, via AOR or Successor or whatever, just real quick. First of all, the first thing you need to do is call us, okay? Because as Christine's talking about, all of these programs are different in terms of what you need to do. And I think you want to be very clear before you try to settle on a purchase price, you know, do that additional kind of contractual language with an attorney, which you would need to do. I think you want to check on kind of how it works, because it may be that you're trying to sell a portion of your business that maybe you don't have enough of that business to move.
Right.
You know, and then all of a sudden you're stuck, like the person paid you money for this business and you can't move it to them.
Right.
The other item is make sure you get an attorney. Okay, this is very critical. Like, get an attorney who's going to line that up, get everything in writing, make sure that you're protected, because if you just try to do it as a you know, kind of professional agreement, a handshake agreement, it's probably not the best way to go when you're considering it. And the last tip I would give you is, if you're primarily in the Medicare business, you're probably your starting point on a discussion for a sale of your book of business is going to be a 2 times multiplier. And what that means is, if your annual renewal base is $100,000, like probably your starting point on selling that book off to somebody is probably like $200,000. But if you want more information about that, certainly give us a call here at the office. If you got questions on successor agent, or are you going to get terminated for stop writing business, make sure you contact Christine. We gave you her email address earlier in the show. Nobody knows more about this stuff than Christine, so absolutely. So last thing before we close out the episode, I believe the last time you were here, we engaged in an epic battle of rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
And after multiple ties, you did beat me.
I did.
You did.
Very
I want.
honest, though.
Yeah. I would like a rematch. Are you up for a rematch today? Okay. Ryan, how do you feel about this? Can we do this? We got time? All right. Ryan's giving a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 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 Okay, 1-0. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 1-1. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yes.
Damn it. So yet again, I was bested after multiple ties by Christine Reed. It is possible she may be the best rock, paper, scissors player in the whole world.
Yep.
So if you need information on selling your book of business, will you get terminated, or strategies to win rock, paper, scissors contests at any period of time, contact Christine. So hey, time to close out the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Any parting shots? Okay. All right. Well, we'll just go with that. She's going to let her victory stand for herself. This has been Christine. I'm Bill. We will see you on Wednesday, February 3rd, back again on Near and Far.